Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 blew up this trilogy with more villains, more effects, and more memeable moments.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eyes. Look at little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry? You'll get your rent when you fix this damn door!
You know, actually, that last one is more important than you think. How all of the moments in this movie deserve re-examination. Because despite insane studio pressure, Raimi still managed to fill this film with tons of fascinating overlooked visual details. We here at New Rockstars are on month 4 of weekly retro rewatches, and back in June, you kind folks voted the Raimi trilogy as the successor to our Infinity Saga rewatch. So,
you knew this was coming, Pete.
Spider-Man 3 opens with another web-framed recap montage, but even before the Venom symbiote infects everything, Peter's webbing is already cast in shadow, definitely compared to its predecessor, reflecting how the darkness that overtakes Peter in this film is already inside him, with his ego, his lack of empathy, and his vengeance. Our first shot of Spider-Man is actually resampled footage from the final swing sequence of Spider-Man 2, but with all those warm color tones dulled. Peter watches this on a screen from the street, and we are reminded of those final moments from the previous film and its secretly dark undertone. The tiger going getting him, oblivious to MJ's concern, a blindness that poisons him in this film. Peter is blinded by loving headlines, including one written by Ray Frank, an homage to Spider-Man comic inker Frank Giacoia, who went under the name Frank Ray. And Peter's blinded by the blondie in Dr. Connor's class, Gwen Stacy, which is reflected by the literal blinding distraction of his bullies, which you can actually see a quick flash of earlier. Spitballs and flashes in high school, spitballs and flashes in college. Ivy League science class. Okay. But first, do you wanna be the hero of your own fantasy? Of course you do, and that's why you should play Raid Shadow Legends. It is a game where dark fantasy meets realism, and where a lizard man meets a frozen banshee. Guess what? They don't get along. Raid is free to download and play, and available on both mobile and desktop. I like to play in the dungeon battles, where you can get a squad of your champions, and you get to take on a boss and his goons for a great reward. Ooh! You can upgrade your champions and outfit them with cool artifacts that make them stronger. You can join a clan and fight the clan boss, and you can jump to the arena to fight against other Raid players. And now the brand new tag team arena is live in-game. Tag Arena is the next level of competition player versus player battles. A series of 3 4 versus 4 battles. Not exactly the big battle in Avengers Endgame, but it's as close as you can get with Dark Elves and Skinwalkers. And since it's brand new, the developers will be giving out some special rewards soon to whoever manages to finish high up in the rankings. You can find me in the game under the username NewRock2020. So what are you waiting for? Go to the live video description, click on the special links, and if you're a new player, you will get 50,000 silver, 50 gems, 1 energy refill, 1 clan boss key, 5 mystery shards, 1 day XP booster, and 1 free epic champion. That champion is Shaman, and she's really great for kicking butt in the early stages of the game. All this treasure will be waiting for you here. Be quick because the rewards will be available only for the next 30 days. Good luck, and I'll see you there. MJ sings Irving Berlin's They Say It's Wonderful, and Peter's too dumb sing along the words that he doesn't realize the lyrics are actually lamenting coming from someone idealizing the concept of love without having experienced the real thing themselves. And in his literal blind spot is the John Wilkes Booth in the opera box, Harry Osborn. Pale and clammy, showing that he is definitely following his father's footsteps with these physical transformations. Afterwards, Peter tells MJ the applause was louder than she thought.
It's the acoustics. It's all about diffusion. It keeps the sound waves from grouping. You see, when the sound waves, they propagate, then it's like an
You are such a nerd.
Peter's knowledge of the physics of sonic frequencies sets him up figuring out Venom's weakness in the final act, grouping sound waves to destabilize the symbiote. Harry's Goblin Cave includes a silver and gold goblin mask, a nod to the Hobgoblin identity from the comics, though technically Harry Osborn in this movie is listed as New Goblin. He snowboards. Okay. Peter and MJ stargaze with one of the shooting stars containing the symbiote. This final perfect night broken with a cursed wish. Because literally, in the next 24 hours, Harry will attack Peter, MJ will get fired from her show, and Eddie Brock will threaten Peter's career. This toxic symbiote is designed to have a more pliable, stickier, doughy texture than the more liquidy ooze of the comics. It has animalistic movement that grasps and latches onto its prey, and that grasp is reflected in the black suit spider logo, with its legs bent inward like claws. Now, the word Venom is never actually spoken in this film, but the Venom V logo does make a subtle cameo in the way that it first makes contact with Peter, latching onto his plate, forming a V shape. Flint Marco's Sandman wears his iconic green and brown outfit. He's got a sick kid, Penny Marco, all this from the comics. And he says,
"Not a bad person, just had bad luck."
Later, after Peter snaps at his landlord about his damn door, Mr. Ditkovich says,
"He is a good boy. He must be in some kind of trouble."
I see some parallelism there. Both Flint and Peter are, in a way, responsible for Ben Parker's death, and that parallelism here is designed to teach Peter forgiveness in this film. Peter's moped helmet still has the torn-off Joe's Pizza sticker, and when they fight, Harry tears a chunk out of the building wall. When it flips, on the other side is like the interior wallpaper, all of it mostly intact, cleanly stuck to the brick and plaster there. Peter ends up using Harry's own drone against him, slingshotting it back so that Harry misses the tripwire. Don't! Now, Harry's amnesia in this movie made him forget this particular move, and that's why later he is caught off guard when Peter uses it on him again. Happy Harry says this about Peter and MJ.
"I'd give my life for them."
Which he does later. Now, MJ is upset about her bad reviews, but Peter keeps making this about him.
Try and understand how I feel. I look at these words, and it's like my father wrote them.
Peter can't understand because back in the first movie, he blocked out MJ's father yelling at her.
Were you listening to that?
No. Well, I heard, but I was just taking out the trash.
I guess you can always hear us.
Well, everybody shouts.
And Peter still kind of has that boyish immaturity. He minimizes her real pain with stupid, get back on that horse pep talks. No empathy, just assuming the headlines will swing back up for her as they did for him. Like Sandman and Venom, his friend Harry, Peter's conflict with MJ is an amorphous target that he can't really web together with a simple fix. Some wounds just go too deep. And this movie is all about detox, the long, ugly process of true healing, and how usually it gets worse before it gets better. Also note how this scene begins.
You know I can't open the door.
It's stuck again?
Peter's broken damn door is a toxic wound, a metaphor that festers and festers until...
You'll get your rent when you fix this damn door.
And then only later, when he completely breaks that handle, letting Aunt May in, does he open himself up to change and the wound begins to heal. Peter saves Gwen from an evil construction crane, where we meet her father, Captain Stacy, and Eddie Brock.
Edward Brock Jr. I work at the Daily Bugle. And I'm dating your daughter.
I love this because both are lies. He doesn't yet work at the Bugle as a full-time employee. He's a freelancer. It was even mentioned in the first movie.
Problem is, we don't have a decent picture. Eddie's been on it for weeks. We can barely get a glimpse of him.
And he and Gwen are not dating.
What about that amazing night that we had?
We had coffee, Eddie.
And if you think about it, that night ended with Gwen not staying the night due to a gig the next morning.
I don't know, I just saw her last night. She said she had a modeling gig.
You'll notice the Bugle offices frame past front pages from previous movies. Spider-Man, Green Goblin terrorized Bugle from the attack in the first film. Doc Ock still at large, which we saw them piecing together in the second movie, as well as Spider-Man no more! And Stan Lee makes one of his all-time best cameos.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
Peter takes Harry home.
Got your little homecoming present.
It's your old ball.
Yeah.
A used basketball. Cool. We actually saw this in their shared apartment in the first movie, and you'll notice Harry now wears his big jacket, a red sweater, just like we saw him the very first time on that field trip. Getting all these reminders of old times, these two best friends. But Harry also hung up a portrait of his father. In the portrait, he's sitting in that same chair that's right there. So you know Harry would sit there beneath Daddy, looking at the mirror at both of them saying, I am you, you are me. Avenge me! Now, there was that woman in black who hung there in that same frame in the first film. It was either Harry's mother or his grandmother, which led to Norman's black dress kink and why he gave MJ a looky-loo after Harry made her wear black at Thanksgiving. It's a weird family. Peter's cocky dancing actually starts early in this movie. Actually, there's this drummer who reached out to me on Twitter, Chris Romero, who said that the marching band was his actual high school band from Port Chester, New York, and you can hear them playing the 60s animated Spider-Man theme. Shazam! Yeah, Peter also snuck in another Shazam callback to his DC superhero reference in the first film.
Shazam!
Peter finds MJ.
Hey, beautiful. One more.
Notice how MJ was happy for a second to be complimented, a stranger who actually likes her, but then realized it was just her boyfriend, who always has to say that. And that's why Peter's second photo is of her brief disappointment. Instead, he's left with just an in-focus photo of a banner calling him mighty. And he ends up humiliating his girlfriend by giving Gwen he and MJ's upside-down kiss. Notice how he gives a thumbs up, but he inverts it to thumbs up from our perspective, although for him, this is a thumbs down, which is accurate because this is a big mistake, Peter. Now, one of the armored truck guards is actually a cameo by producer Grant Curtis. His name actually also appeared on Norman's newspaper in the first film. Spider-Man punches through Sandman's midsection. Inspired by comics imagery, they actually pulled off this effect with martial arts expert and amputee Baxter Humby. And when Peter dumps the sand out of his boots later, I love how you can see stirrups on his pant legs to keep them from riding up. Clever. Bruce Campbell returns as a maitre d' at the restaurant after playing the wrestling announcer and snooty usher in the previous films. It was going to set him up as the failed actor Quentin Beck Mysterio in the prologue of the fourth film, but it never happened. Peter tells him to play MJ's song from the show she was just fired from, which again was a much sadder song that he doesn't really get the lyrics of. And even though he doesn't know she was fired, she would have had to sing this song like 8 times a week, and then hundreds of times before that at rehearsals. It's just a terrible choice in every way. And then he's so smug as he rehearses his reactions to this proposal.
How'd that get in there? Oh, don't cry.
I'll later turn this from sweet to acidic after his dark turn.
Gonna cry?
Peter Norman Osborn's his own proposal.
Oh.
And when he fishes out the ring from the champagne, you can actually see the original spider bite scar on his hand, the gift and the curse that doomed his personal relationships. That curse rots as his vengeance turns on Flint Marco. His memories trigger him with flashes and camera shutter sound effects.
Just give me a chance!
What about my uncle? Did you give him a chance? Did you?
A photographer's mind snapping photos of the past until they overexpose beyond recognition into blinding rage. And his monochromatic memories lead to a black and white suit devoid of color. His world upside down. Peter gets his revenge on Marco. He grinds the guy's head into the train. And if you go through this frame by frame, you can actually see how the VFX artist animated Marco's teeth flying out of his jaw. Yeah, Peter's delivering the pain equivalent of pulling teeth. Peter goes emo and yeah, let's go for the turkey here.
You'll get your rent when you fix this damn door!
On MJ's phone are the names Harlocker, Getzinger, and Gelfman. They're all people who worked in the prop department on this film. Nice, snuck their names into the phone there. Randazzo is also someone who worked payroll on the movie, though there is some wordplay here because Juliet Gelfman Randazzo was also the name of an actress known for her work in the film Deconstructing Harry, which the subplot does for Harry Osborn here. But as Peter is re-triggered with his vengeance memory, so is Harry.
First, we attack his heart.
Call back to Norman's demon voice telling him that in the first film.
First, we attack his heart.
Harry forces MJ to dump Peter, and then he taunts Peter.
She was fired and she told you. She didn't tell me.
Yeah, this is a reversal from the first film when MJ worked as a waitress and told Peter don't tell Harry, who was her boyfriend then, but now it's a game of don't tell Peter. And then this gem.
How's the pie?
So good.
And then he magically disappears behind the truck. Guy behind him's like, the hell? Why are you standing behind that wall, dude? And Franco's like, I'm getting my friend so good, so good. Sam Raimi reveals Peter in Harry's window with a similar camera move that he did for Doc Ock in the previous film, and then they fight.
I protected you in high school, now I'm gonna kick your little ass.
Peter's reaction is actually hilariously sincere, because back when Peter did get jumped in high school, Harry stayed on the sidelines.
Help them, Harry!
Which one?
And then Peter taunts,
Look at little Goblin Jr. Gonna cry?
and then he flings a grenade back at Harry, torching Harry's face the same way Norman did to Peter in the final act of the first film. And you can actually see Harry's body going flying as just Peter walks away. Youch. Peter sees Eddie's doctored photo on the Bugle front page.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Comedian Dean Edwards cameos there. And on the lower banner of that newspaper reads, minor quakes felt throughout subway, referring to Peter's fight with Marco on the trains. But if you think about it, this is the first time Peter was written up for something bad he actually did. Of course, Jameson had to retract the doctored photo, but he didn't have to print a full retraction exonerating Spider-Man. Because if you think about it, Spider-Man would at least be guilty of like aggravated assault. Peter crashes the Bugle's champagne toast for a new staff photographer. I don't think they'd do that, but okay.
You're trash, Brock.
And notice on Eddie's desk is an already framed photo of Gwen, a girl who made it clear they were not dating, and then Peter humiliates Eddie.
You want forgiveness? get religion.
What's going on?
And in doing so, Peter creates his own demon, sending Eddie to the church, where Eddie will get the venom dripped on him. Behind Dr. Connors is a reptilian skeleton, a nod to his planned future as the lizard in the fourth film that, never happened. And then Peter snatches back that bugle job, and as he sits at Jameson's desk, I love the reaction of Betty Brant through the window there. Yes, please. A nerdy broke photographer. And then Peter's black suit and his dancing, well, it's enough to feed an army on Tumblr, right? But notice those clearance signs on the store. Yeah, this is meant to be pathetic because Peter's broke. He could only afford new clothes that were on sale. That's the joke here. Raimi wants us to cringe at this because this is what a nerd like Peter thinks is cool. Raimi's not trying to be cool here. He knows how to make characters look cool when he wants to, but really, he's an expert in cringe body horror. That is the gross transformation we're looking at here. The Jazz Club is the horror movie equivalent of the cursed a-hole bleeding out on everyone. And it's why Raimi includes his horror partner in crime, Evil Dead 2 co-writer Scott Spiegel, in this moment. They're both reveling in this horror. And it's why it ends with the most horrific violence in any of these movies. He just hit MJ. Yeah, rock bottom, folks. He's as bad as this movie's 12 villains. And that prompts his first real step toward Detox, using the bell frequency to remove the symbiote, which then binds to another desperate soul who's also at rock bottom, Eddie Brock. Peter cleanses himself with a shower and he's back to square one, gazing up at MJ through a window, just like he did from his bedroom in the first movie. Eddie Brock Venom suspends MJ's taxi in a web with the message, "Spider-Man, stop us if you can," written in the same font from the sensational Spider-Man comics. This construction site setting and composer Christopher Young's Sandman music was inspired by an episode of the animated Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Actually, Young cameoed in this movie as MJ's musical composer. Sam Raimi's sons, Lauren and Henry, cameo.
Awesome! Wicked cool!
And his daughter, Emma, cameos as the girl who sells Jameson the camera.
Film's extra.
Film extra, that's what you are. Harry saves Peter by taking the same blow that killed his father. You know the one.
Oh.
And Peter uses the sound waves to destabilize the symbiote off Eddie, but Eddie is too far gone.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
See, Eddie is the foil to Peter on this detox journey, too addicted to the toxin to let go of it. And at that last second, you can see Eddie's skeleton vaporized. And then after seeing his dark foil's grisly end, Peter turns to a foil with more mixed morals like him, Flint Marko, who reveals Ben's shooting was an accident. And Peter realizes that they're both equally guilty of this.
I've done terrible things too.
So when Peter says,
I forgive you.
he's really taking Aunt May's advice and he's forgiving himself. The trilogy comes full circle with the ending of the first movie, An Osborne Funeral, and Flash Thompson, Joe Manganiello, returns from the first movie here. Though while the previous two movies ended with triumphant sunset swings, this movie ends on a quieter note, MJ forgiving Peter. And Peter's face is actually a mix of relief and pain. He doesn't get the kiss here. He knows he's lucky to get this much. Small steps. That is how we grow. Look, I know it's fun to dunk on this movie. It definitely isn't perfect. Sam Raimi himself later said it was awful. I think that's a pretty respectable thing for a great filmmaker to say. Personally, I've always believed that it's the harder and more rewarding path to investigate and celebrate the artistry. And Sam Raimi did so many great things in this movie that I am stoked he's getting a second chance at Marvel with Doctor Strange 2. Join our future weekly watch-alongs on Discord by becoming a patron at patreon.com/newrockstars. I want to hear from you guys what movie I should do next. Follow me on Instagram at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe for breakdowns of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and hey, if I said something you disagreed with in this video, try not to comment down below with